For years, they told us it was over. They told us the black book was the end of the road. They told us that Jeffrey Epstein was a lone wolf and that the most powerful men in the world who visited his island were just naive. They lied. 3 days ago, the Department of Justice, under immense public pressure, released the largest cache of documents in this case's history. 3 million pages. These aren't just old flight logs. These are the private emails, the scheduling conflicts, the thank you notes sent after the world already knew who Epstein was. In this video, we are not looking at rumors. We are looking at the receipts. We are breaking down the 3 massive contradictions found in the 2026 files involving the U.S. Commerce Secretary, the world's richest man, and the prince who claimed he was breaking it off. Buckle up. Because what the DOJ tried to redact, we found. Before we get to the names, we have to talk about how we got these files, because the release itself is a scandal. On January 30th at 9:00 a.m., the link went live. But for the first 45 minutes, something was wrong. The redaction tool, the digital black marker used to hide the names of innocent victims, had failed on nearly 4,000 pages. It was a privacy nightmare. The DOJ panicked. They pulled the server offline. But in the age of the internet, 45 minutes is an eternity. Thousands of researchers, journalists, and archivists had already downloaded the raw file. Now let me be clear about our policy here. This channel will never reveal the names of victims. We are not here to re-victimize the innocent. We are here for the perpetrators and the enablers. But this glitch revealed something else. It revealed how sloppy the investigation has been. If the government can't even operate a PDF redaction tool correctly, how can we trust them to investigate the most complex trafficking ring in history? The glitch didn't just show victim names. It showed us names of witnesses that the DOJ chose not to prosecute. And that is where our story begins. Let's start with the name that is shaking up Washington right now, Howard Lutnick. The current U.S. Commerce Secretary, a man responsible for American business and trade. For years, Lutnick's defense has been consistent. He admitted he knew Epstein in the early 2000s, but claimed that as soon as Epstein's first conviction happened in 2008, he cut ties. He said, and I quote, "I spent zero time with him after that." The 2026 files determined that was a lie. This is email 44B from the new cache. It is dated October 2012, 4 years after Epstein was a registered sex offender. Jeffrey, I'm going to be in the Palm Beach area next week with the family. Would love to stop by for lunch if you're around. It's been too long. It's been too long. That is not the language of a man who cut ties. That is the language of an old friend. And Epstein's reply: "Come by Tuesday, the chef is making something special." Why does this matter? Because Lutnick is a sitting government official. He went through a vetting process. He presumably told FBI vetters that he had no contact with Epstein. These emails prove that a high-ranking U.S. official maintained a personal relationship with a known predator after his conviction. The question we need to ask is, what did they talk about at that lunch? Was it business? Was it politics? Or was it something else? Because immediately following that lunch, we see a transfer of funds in the ledger, a consulting fee paid from one of Epstein's shell companies to a firm linked to Lutnick's family office. Consulting for what? Epstein was a pariah. What advice was the future Commerce Secretary giving him in 2012? The Department of Justice has these emails. They have had them for years. And yet Lutnick was cleared for office. If Lutnick is the political angle, this next one is the cultural earthquake. Elon Musk. Elon has always been very vocal on X about this. He has repeatedly mocked the media, saying he never went to the island and that he declined Epstein's invites because he thought Epstein was creepy. We already knew about the weird kung fu practice email from years ago. But the 2026 files give us something much more concrete. They give us the logistics. This email is from Epstein's personal assistant to the Musk family office. It's discussing flight paths for a private jet, but look at this specific line here, Mr. Musk was asking about the ratio for the weekend. He wants to know if the party on the 14th will be the wildest option or if he should come on the 21st. Let's pause. The ratio, in the context of party culture, we all know what that implies. It implies the ratio of men to women. Why is a man who claims he found Epstein creepy emailing about which weekend would be the wildest? Now, to be fair and legally safe, this email does not prove Musk went that weekend. The flight logs from that specific month are still partially redacted. We do not have a confirmed landing. But it destroys the narrative of distance. You don't ask a creepy stranger about the male-to-female ratio of their private island party. You ask that of a party planner. You ask that of a facilitator, and there is more. The 2026 files also show an email thread regarding reputation management. Epstein was actually advising Musk on how to handle PR crises in 2014. Think about that. The man who runs Tesla was taking PR advice from a convicted predator. And finally, we return to the royal, Prince Andrew. The man who told the BBC and the world that he only visited Epstein in 2010 to break off the friendship out of a sense of honor. That was his defense. I went there to tell him it was over. It was a stupid excuse then, but the 2026 files make it a proven lie. This is a correspondence from late 2010 after the so-called breakup trip. It is sent from Andrew's private server to Ghislaine Maxwell. Gee, hope you are well. Let him know that the palace is an option for next month. We can have dinner in the apartments. Lots of privacy. Security is taken care of. Did you catch that? The palace is an option. He wasn't breaking up with him. He was inviting him into the heart of the British monarchy. He was offering privacy and security to a registered sex offender inside the Queen's home. This email changes the legal landscape completely. The king has been under pressure to strip Andrew of his remaining titles. These files might be the final nail in that coffin. Because inviting a predator to the palace isn't just a personal failing, it is a national security breach. But we need to stop and look at the bigger picture here. When you line up the Lutnick emails, the Musk logistics, and the Prince Andrew invitation, a disturbing pattern emerges. It's not just about who went where. It's about the gatekeeper. In almost every single one of these new 2026 emails, there is a third person copied on the chain, Ghislaine Maxwell. For years, these men claimed they were tricked by Epstein. They claimed they didn't know what was happening behind closed doors, but the emails show that they weren't just coordinating with Jeffrey. They were coordinating with his partner. Take a look at this email from the Silicon Valley folder of the new release. We know Epstein was obsessed with the tech world. He wanted to be seen as a science philanthropist, but the emails tell a different story. They aren't discussing funding for cancer research. They are discussing introductions. Jeffrey, regarding the dinner for the scientists next week, will the young ones be in attendance? It helps the atmosphere. It helps the atmosphere. This is the code we see over and over again in the 3 million pages. They never say victims, they say talent, massage, or young ones. It is a corporate language designed to hide a criminal reality. And the fact that these tech moguls, some of the smartest men on the planet, played along with this code is damning. You don't accidentally use code words. You use them because you know exactly what they mean. The 2026 files also reveal something we suspected but couldn't prove, the shadow calendar. We always had the flight logs. But the flight logs only show who got on the plane. They don't show who met the plane. The DOJ released Epstein's personal desk diary from 2014, and here is the shocker. On days where the flight logs show no passengers, the desk diary shows meetings with major Wall Street bankers in the Virgin Islands. How is that possible? How can a banker be in a meeting on the island if they weren't on the flight log? The answer is in the Marina folder. They weren't flying commercial. They weren't even flying on the Lolita Express. They were arriving by private yacht, anchoring offshore, and taking tenders to the island to avoid customs. The 2026 files contain Marina receipts for 3 major banking executives who swore under oath they never visited the island. The receipts prove they were there for 3 days. This obliterates the "I wasn't on the flight log" defense. We now know there was a second way in. A back door for the VIPs who were too smart to put their names on a manifest. And this brings us to the most terrifying question of all. If they went to such great lengths to hide their arrival, using yachts, shell companies, and code names, what were they doing that was so much worse than what we already know? You don't hide a lunch meeting, you hide a crime. We are also seeing a massive amount of emails regarding the trust. Epstein wasn't just hoarding money, he was setting up trust funds for people. The new files show draft documents for trust funds benefiting people who have no biological relation to him. Why was Jeffrey Epstein creating financial safety nets for random women in Eastern Europe and South America? The media calls them beneficiaries. The prosecutors call them hush money payments. We found an email from 2015, very late in the game, where a lawyer asks, Is the structure secure for the girls if the main account is frozen? Epstein replies with one word, ironclad. He wasn't protecting his money. He was protecting his silence. He was ensuring that even if he went down, the payments would keep flowing and the secrets would stay buried. Lutnick, Musk, Andrew. These are just 3 names from 3 million pages. We are still reading, we are still digging. But remember this, the DOJ identified 6 million relevant pages. They released 3. Where is the other half? The lawyers claim the other half contains sensitive national security info. But after seeing these emails, you have to ask, is it national security? Or is it just job security for the people in power? We are going to keep going through these files. If you want us to do a deep dive on the financial section, the banks that facilitated this, hit the like button and comment, follow the money below. Because the scariest part of the 2026 files isn't what we found, it's what they are still hiding. Thanks for watching, stay safe and stay curious.